Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I will talk about the topic that I'm going to cover as part of series of videos that I will be going to upload on machine learning. So I'll first start with a basic definition of machine learning. Then the topics that I will be covering are the supervised learning. Okay, so there are mainly two types: regression and classification. Then within that, there are many algorithms that we need to learn, and those are linear regression, logistic regression, and we talk about model bias and model variance, also called as underfitting and overfitting. We'll also talk about how to overcome overfitting with the help of regularization. I'll talk about K nearest neighbor regression and K nearest neighbor classification. We call it as KNN regression and KNN classification. I will talk about support vector machines as well. This is one of the most powerful algorithms that is available for classification purpose in today's world. Okay, so they are also called as large margin classifiers. Usually we make use of them if we have solid domain knowledge, domain understanding. Okay, then I'll talk about decision trees for both classification and regression. Then I'll talk about ensemble technique called as random forest, wherein we club multiple decision trees in order to arrive at a conclusion. Okay, so we can make use of random forest for both classification and regression. So I'll talk about that as well. And I will talk about extreme gradient boost, also called as XGBoost algorithm, one of the widely used algorithm in today's world. Okay, so if you take example of Kaggle computations, most of the computations are won by fine tuning XGBoost algorithms, right? So that one I will talk about. So whatever algorithms that I will be covering, right, I will be covering in detail along with in-depth maths intuition in them. Okay, so please stay tuned for my videos. Next, I will cover the videos on performance measures. So if we train any model on regression or classification, we have so many metrics to measure the performance, how our algorithm is performing on any given data set. Okay, so with respect to that, I will be talking about mean squared error, mean absolute error, root mean squared error, etc. With respect to classification, I will talk about accuracy, I will talk about confusion metrics, wherein we deal with true positives, true negatives, false positives, and false negatives. Okay, and then I will talk about precision and recall. I will also give the mathematical formula and when and where we can make use of each of those metrics. Okay, then I'll talk about something called as F1 score. In general, it is called as F beta score. Okay, so there can be any value with respect to beta, but most widely used is F1 score. So I'll talk about that. Then I'll talk about something called as AUC ROC curve. Okay, all these are the measures for classification and regression algorithms. Okay, so the first one is for mainly regression, and there is one more thing called as R square score and adjusted R square. Okay, so I'll also talk about that with respect to regression. And the metrics starting from second point to 6th point are mainly for classification. So we'll talk about that as well along with the math intuition behind them. Okay, so that's about classification. Then coming to supervised learning, I'll talk about mainly on clustering techniques. So when I say clustering, it is grouping of similar data together. Okay, so therein I'll talk about K-means clustering algorithm, DB-scan, and hierarchical clustering. Okay, so along with in-depth math intuition. Okay, behind each one of the algorithms. Then I will talk about the performance measure for classification clustering algorithms. So there are two or three main or important performance measures. Elbow plot is easy to use but not that much widely used. It's not also preferred way to measure the performance. So I'll cover it in the later part of my videos. But the most important things are distortion cost function and Silhouette score or Silhouette coefficient. Okay, so these things are must in order to measure the performance of our clustering algorithm. Okay, so this is with respect to machine learning. Then I will talk about deep learning or AI. There I will be starting with shallow and deep neural networks. how the idea arrived about neural networks, so the intuition behind the neural networks idea. Then I'll talk about something very important in order to understand neural networks, that is forward propagation and back propagation. Okay, so this is very, very important in order to get in-depth understanding on neural networks. Then I will move on to convolutional neural networks, CNN. I will cover different models after covering the basic intuition behind convolutional neural networks. I will cover models like VGG16, ResNet. There is something called as AlexNet. There is another very important network called as Inception network, and this is also very popular. So I'll talk about all these things along with the in-depth math intuition. Then I'll talk something called as recurrent neural networks and LSTMs. Okay. Once I cover these things on deep learning, I will go on to make videos on NLP, that is natural language processing. So with respect to NLP, I will first talk about word and document embeddings. Within that, I will mostly concentrate on GenSim library. Okay. So in GenSim library, we can understand how we can develop word embeddings and document embeddings using algorithms such as word2vec, doc2vec, GLOW, etc. Okay. So I will talk about that. Then I will talk something on encoders and decoders part with respect to NLP. We can make use of LSTM with respect to encoders and decoders for machine translation. Okay. So please remember this, machine translation is something which is for the language translation. Okay. So if you just think of converting some sentence from English to French or German, okay, so we can make use of such encoders and decoders architecture. Okay. So that is with respect to machine translation. Then the most important stuff with respect to NLP and today's world is attention models. Within that specific, BERT mainly deals with encoders. Okay. So the E in BERT stands for encoders. So I'll talk about in detail about BERT in my coming videos. Then I'll also talk about GPT-1 and GPT-2 algorithms that are available for NLP. So all these things deal with textual data. Okay. So whatever we have discussed or I have introduced you about earlier, right? All these machine learning algorithms, they only deal with numbers. Okay. These things, the NLP stuff, they also deal with numbers, but we can convert the textual data into numbers with the help of our embeddings here. Then we can feed those word or document embeddings, learned embeddings into any of the models, LSTM or BERT or GPT-1 or GPT-2 as such. Okay. In this also we will talk about mainly about classification of the documents. Okay. Classification and clustering. Okay. With respect to text, these are the main stuffs. Then with respect to GPT, I will talk about text generation. Okay. How we can generate some text or how we can summarize our whole document. All those things I will be talking with respect to NLP set of videos. So this is going to be a really long journey for all of us and it's really going to be exciting. So please stay tuned, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification icon so that you will be notified whenever I upload any videos on any of these topics. So stay tuned, happy learning, bye bye.